Okay, something hilarious has happened, and it's a combination of Greta Thunberg and the whole white privilege PC movement. But before we get into that, it's Andy Singer with the Heartland Institute, bringing you more from climaterealism.com. So you remember Greta Thunberg, the little Swedish girl that sailed across the ocean in a speed yacht and then made the extremely famous
"How dare you!"
speech for the United Nations? Well, Greta's group, School Strike for Climate, appears to be canceling itself due to an overwhelming sense of whiteness. But before we get into that, let's just quickly talk about how Greta blew up. Greta Thunberg won a climate change essay competition for a Swedish newspaper back in 2018. The paper published her essay, and she was noticed by a local environmental activism group. She started attending this group's meetings, and they suggested that she do a school strike for climate. Greta's school strike may have started off as a solo thing, but she was noticed by the climate activist group We Don't Have Time. They sent a freelance photographer out to take photos of her and published her all over their social media channels. Soon, she became the Greta Thunberg we know today. Now, her school strike for climate has grown from the small-time movement it once was to this huge international group that promotes students to skip school every now and then to fight climate change. New Zealand has one of these chapters, and it's not a small one. They convinced 20,000 students back in 2019 to walk out of school for climate change. So recently, this New Zealand chapter has shut down because apparently it's too white. Now that brings up the age-old question, what's more important? Apparently, because these people think we're going extinct. So, the world getting so hot that we all burn alive, or the burning in my corneas because there's too many white people in front of me? Now that question's been answered. Apparently my corneas are at more risk than all of us being extinct due to climate change. But it really does make you wonder, if this is an extinction level event, does whiteness matter? The way I think about it is when these groups started back in 2018 and 2019, climate change was the big issue. I mean, that was the, Greta's big "how dare you" speech.
How dare you!
But right now, climate change isn't the issue. COVID's been the issue, but the other issue is diversity. Diversity is what everyone wants to talk about these days. Maybe these climate groups are now the hot issue isn't climate change, so they're worried about white supremacy and privilege and diversity. But again, if this is an extinction level event, who cares? Now, fortunately, some very reputable news sources have covered this white supremacy issue in climate change. Like we have Why I Quit Being a Climate Activist by Vice, or 5 Ways to Make the Climate Movement Less White from The Guardian. Then we have Climate Anxiety is an Overwhelmingly White Phenomenon from Scientific American, and The Environmental Movement is Very White. These leaders want to change that from National Geographic. But it really does make you wonder. So if the countries that are generally white are worried about climate change and the countries that aren't white aren't, well, we should maybe look at the socioeconomic status of these countries. So, I'm going to go to Africa here. It is not a predominantly white area. And apparently they're not very worried about climate change. Now, maybe that's because they're more concerned with raising their standards of living, which they need fossil fuels for, and aren't really worried about, if we go through an industrial revolution, we might alter the temperature of the earth a negligible amount. And that doesn't seem like a bad thing to them, which it doesn't seem like a bad thing to me. So this whiteness issue in climate change, it seems almost a little privileged. But that's it. School strike for climate, New Zealand, done. Too white, not diverse enough. You can't have someone walking in there and being like, yeah, you're trying to prevent the destruction of the earth, but I'm not seeing enough people of color in here. Not going to cut it. So that's where these groups are at. That's what these people think. And I thought it was too funny of a story to pass up. Hope you all enjoyed this. It's Andy with the Heartland Institute. Next time. Thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe to our channel and consider donating to the Heartland Institute to support more vibrant free markets, greater individual liberties, and more videos like this one.